Welcome to another edition of North Penn Answers. I'm your host, Joe Sullivan, a member of the North Penn School Board. On this program, we answer questions posed by our residents and dispel rumors spread through the local media. Joining me is Vincent Sherpinsky, president of the North Penn School Board. One of the new ideas being presented as a tool for savings is one where North Penn will join a consortium of school districts in Montgomery County to find lower cost solutions for the questions of healthcare costs. How did this come about?
A few years ago, North Penn began exploring ways to control health care costs. After analyzing the different options for savings and balancing any potential savings with ensuring that our employees maintain high levels of service, North Penn decided to go with the option for self-funding of health care. This effort began in July of 2011, and this year North Penn has put into place the tools to help control costs now and in the future. Over the last few years, North Penn has experienced double-digit increases in healthcare costs. Through self-funding, our increases have dropped to single digits, and we have maintained our current levels of service. Moving forward, North Penn will continue to look for ways to improve what we do. Another effort in the area of healthcare is the exploration of healthcare consortiums. Last fall, the North Penn School Board partnered with the North Penn Teachers Union to explore ways to control costs in the area of healthcare. Through this joint effort, we are exploring the issues of healthcare, looking for other ways to contain overall cost and maintain current service levels. These consortiums are exploring the use of proactive methods to help offset higher future healthcare costs through better health management programs and cooperation between the participants.
Good. How does working in a consortium change our self-funding efforts?
Well, at this point, it really doesn't. The consortiums are still gathering information and looking for ways to help potential participants. Originally, the analysis of the current program showed that while we won't find any significant savings over the next 2 to 3 years, there could be savings down the road.
What would change for North Penn employees? How would these benefits differ, if at all, from today's healthcare program?
Any program that we enter into through a consortium must guarantee 4 things up front. They must maintain the current level of service. The second thing is they must keep the same coverages we have in place. The third thing is they have to take into account our existing record of claims, which is very positive. And fourth, they must produce a significant benefit for North Penn in the terms of overall healthcare cost control.
What are some of the challenges you envision by joining a countywide healthcare consortium?
A couple of bigger things to worry about when you talk about a consortium on this scale is that we have multiple bargaining units. We also have multiple employee groups. Everybody has to be on the same page. We want to make sure, as I said, the 4 basics were that we maintain the current levels of service, that we ensure that we experience what we've experienced, and that we benefit from the changes. That has to be for every employee group going into this. And the idea of cooperation is a major endeavor here. The bigger challenges you see, though, with better healthcare management is the long-term savings that you get when you share the responsibility for these programs. The challenge is getting everybody on the same page, giving everybody representation, and then getting it effectively done. And that's a big order. And unfortunately for us, with our timeline, we have to make a decision within the next 7 to 8 days, which is virtually impossible to do and still get the information because we still haven't heard everything.
Are there any downsides or risks to joining the consortium?
There are, and there can be. The difficulty is, as everybody represents the program and the idea and the concept is that it's a win-win situation for everybody. The reality of it is, we need to see what the wins are. Going forward and through our process and our analysis shows that, again, we don't have any immediate savings for us initially. The difficulty is that we're told that there could be savings from a couple of extra responses: cooperation, shared responsibility, acceptance of some of the bigger challenges, and increased cost. They're all things that have to come from other players in this formula, not from the school board. The challenge is getting everybody on that same page and hoping that we all move the same way and row the same direction. The bigger challenges on the downside for us is if there are no savings, why do it? Right now, the program of self-funding is working very effectively. It's controlling cost, and it's helping us face the bigger challenges for every employee group involved. The bigger challenge is if you move to a different type of a program and not everyone is included, you run into challenges. We have to run 2 separate systems at the same time, which is not cost effective for North Penn in the long run. The other thing is, again, the timeline. The challenge is to have all this information, have all the facts and figures so that you can justify making the changes going forward. Right now, we don't have those challenges and we don't have that information in there.
Right. Right now, we manage our own self-insurance trust fund.
Correct.
We don't have to get approval for anybody to make decisions. We can make our own decisions, make our own changes, as long as they abide by the constraints of
their contracts.
Contract.
And also through our third-party administrators, we are able to comply with all the laws.
So if this doesn't work out, is there an exit strategy in place, or how hard would it be to revert back to our current program if it doesn't work out?
That's another challenge for us. The idea here is shared responsibility, shared leadership, cooperation. If that doesn't come to fruition, there are some difficulties to try to get out of this program, to get into go back to the way we were, or to find some other consortium to join. The real challenge here is that you need all these pieces in place to make this a win-win situation. And if some of those pieces aren't in place, then it's going to be difficult for the board to move forward with making changes in the timeline and the constraints that we're given within the next 8 to 10 days, which is very difficult to make because some of those pieces still aren't here yet.
Yeah. And I saw a schedule of cost savings, and the projected cost savings only take place at the highest levels of enrollment for the employees throughout the county.
Our initial estimates and analysis again show that there is no significant benefits for North Penn in the first 2 to 3 years. The savings can come in the 4th and 5th and maybe future years if, again, cooperation, a shared responsibility, and all those things are in place as we move forward. And that's a big if when you put it in the context of how much money we spend on benefits.
And along with that, we need the enrollment numbers. In other words, we need participation by a number of school districts so we hit our enrollment numbers, so the fixed cost per subscriber is reduced to the point where we're starting to see some benefit.
Yeah, one of the key drivers of a consortium is that you have pooled challenges, pooled resources. That gives us buying power. It gives us ability to negotiate because we have a much larger scale of participants. If you don't get other school districts to join in for the same reasons that we may be challenged to join, not having the facts and figures in front of us when we have to make the decisions, that could lead to having a less influential impact on us as far as savings goes in outer years or future years. And again, that's a negative to us. But the idea here is that it looks positive. There's some potential, and there's been a lot of promise. And now let's see if those promises can get delivered, and then in the long term we can save money.
I'm sure we'll be keeping an eye on that in the future, and probably talking about it again on this show sometime in the future.
Absolutely, I look forward to it.
While we are talking about consortiums, the Montgomery County Transportation Consortium is an area where North Penn worked to reduce costs for this school year. Can you talk about how these efforts will look next year?
North Penn learned a tough lesson last year during the first efforts to better manage our transportation costs, working through the Montgomery County Transportation Consortium. While the new Transportation Consortium showed us ways to save money, it failed on maintaining acceptable levels of service for some residents. And since then, North Penn has taken back routes, added routes, and even modified routes, all to refine our transportation efforts. As we move forward and learn from what happened last fall, this remains an area of concern. Everyone wants to ensure that we provide the necessary levels of service while operating efficiently and effectively. The administration's goal here is to continue improving what North Penn is doing.
Thank you, Vince. I think that's the most I said consortium in my life, and in such a small amount of time. That's it for this edition of North Penn Answers. If you have any questions you'd like to see answered on this show, please email northpennanswers@npenn.org. We encourage everyone to send us your questions. Thanks for watching.